Hello, and welcome back to Mafia City RP. So today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to be talking about something that's asked a lot for in the comments and such. It's going to be the whole debate between Mafia City and Eclipse RP. So today, we're going to go into that. We're going to start off, I'll have all the sections on screen now, but we're going to go through my opinions on it. And then we're going to do the rest of the review unbiased, as much as I can at least. So we're going to start off with the opinions, then go into an overview of both servers, the main unique features that bring people to either one of them, then the player base, and then the rules of each server and how they're different, the economies of each one, and then at the end we're going to give a conclusion, kind of summarizing each server and the different kind of people and different kind of reasons to join each one. So let's start off with some of my opinions on both of the servers. Alright, so to start off, we're going to be going through my personal opinions and biases towards each server, just so you guys know exactly my opinions and biases towards each server, and then we're going to be going into everything and as fact-based as I can. But to start off, Eclipse, I joined, I believe, either early 2018 or late 2018, around somewhere in 2018, I joined Eclipse, and I currently have, I think, around 700 hours played on it. I've been playing it again. It was my first RP server, first time ever trying it out. It was a lot of fun at the start. We did a bunch of episodes. I think I have like 70-something episodes now of Eclipse. I went through multiple gangs, saw how a bunch of stuff was changing in the city, saw rule changes, saw really a lot of how the server was changing over time, and a lot of it for the good and a lot of it honestly for the bad. But again, this is just my opinions at the start. The main things that I really didn't like about Eclipse is the fact that you can buy cars for IRL money. You can buy a supercar if you have like not even an hour played on the server, and have a supercar, Sultan RS I believe you can buy for around 90 euros in the shop, which in my opinion I really didn't like, because I liked having to work for it and show that you worked for buying a certain car. But again, some people like that, some people don't. And then that's pretty much the main reasons I had. And the VIP system really bothered me. How you can have double gas, less fines, less jail time and stuff just because you're paying money to the server. But again, some people get that, some people don't. I honestly don't prefer it. Although having a giant player base over on Eclipse led to a lot of really cool scenarios, led to a lot of really cool content. And it's definitely a little more light focused RP and a lot of fun just messing around and having fun with friends. In Mafia City, I joined, I think, the day it came out, which was, I believe, in December of 2019, and I've been playing on that server pretty much ever since. I think around 300 to 350 hours total across all my characters, and I've been really having a good time over there. There's a lot of heavy RP, and it's a lot smaller player base at the moment, but definitely has a more of a community sense and a community feel. There's no pay to win, there's no pay for vehicles, nothing like that. But that's just my main opinions on both servers. Again, I've been playing a lot of Mafia recently, but both servers do serve their purposes. Eclipse definitely a lot more on the light RP and more fun, and Mafia a lot more on the grinding and heavy RP as well. But I think that's going to be about it for my opinions. Let's get that out of the way so you guys know where my opinions lie. Now we're going to be going into facts only and just stats about each server. So we're going to start off with the overview of each server, and then we're going to be going on from there. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's start with the overview. So starting off, I'm going to go through each one of these servers as a little overview. We're going to talk about when it was released, if it's voice or text, the civilian or starter scripted jobs, and then the main government jobs and the illegal activities on each one, to give you kind of a decent overview of how each server works, how long it's been up, and a couple extra stuff. So, to start off with Eclipse, first got released on the 25th of February 2017. It's a voice and text RP server, which makes it pretty unique, and draws a lot of different people to the server. Next, we're going to be talking about the civilian and starter jobs on it. They have a bunch. They actually just did an update recently, adding a bunch more scripted jobs to the server, such as toll booth operator, we have lumberjack, oil miner, post-op delivery driver, trucker, money transport, courier job, miner, fishing, hunting, and food truck driver. So there's quite a couple different civilian scripted jobs to start you off on the server. Next, for the main government jobs and server created jobs on Eclipse, we have the mechanic job, we have obviously the police department, the MD, sheriff's department, taxi, we have the Department of Corrections, which is basically being a prison guard, Weasel News, and then the fire department. And then for the illegal activities in the server, there's drug cooking. You can actually cook and create your own labs with drug tables and ventilators as well, and interiors. There's store robberies, there's weapon importing, which is only for official gangs, and I'll go into that a little bit later in this video, but that's pretty much it for the illegal activities. There might be a couple other things, such as, selling guns and stuff, but this is all of the scripted ones. So next, we're going to be talking about Mafia City. It's a little bit newer of a server. It has been in development, I believe, for around 2 years, if I remember correctly, but it only recently got released at the last month of last year on the 5th of December, 2019. It's a voice-only server, which also makes it very unique. A lot of people going into RP don't know a lot, or they are used to text, so having it being a voice server only is a very unique feature, and definitely brings a lot of people to it and brings a lot of people away from it. For the civilian and starter scripted jobs, there's fishing, there's lumberjacking, mineral transporting, trucker, garbage trucker, and a miner. So it's a little bit less scripted jobs, but they are working on some really cool stuff, which again, we'll go into a little bit later when we're talking about the economy. So for the main government jobs, or server created jobs as well, that you have to apply to on forums and such, there is the Department of Justice, which includes elected mayoral positions, attorneys, business analysts, and a whole wide range of legal positions that are really interesting. There's a DOC, the police department, and then the MD, of course. And then for illegal activities at the moment, there is coke cooking in RVs, weed farming, weed selling, weed factories, cocaine factories, weapon factories, cocaine selling, and a very unique turf system, which again we'll go into a little bit later. But that's going to be pretty much for a little overview of each server. Now we're going to be going into the main unique features of each server and the reasons why people may want to join them over other ones. So now we're going to be talking about a little bit of the main unique features of each server and what might draw people into it. Start off with Eclipse. You're able to create your own drug labs inside of interiors using drug tables, ventilators, and maintaining them with water to cool them down, gas masks to negate damage taken when cooling down the tables, and the hazmat suits to be able to cook a little bit better. This is a really unique feature, being able to create your whole entire own drug lab, although, again, as said before, you have to be a admin-approved official faction to be able to import them and be able to get the ventilators and such. So next, there's going to be enterable and customizable custom interiors, allowing you to create whatever kind of house/business inside of a blank interior. It's a really unique feature, really cool. You get to see some really cool creative interiors made by players. Next is there's used car markets to sell cars, with the cars being viewable in person. Really unique feature, makes the used car buying experience a lot cooler and a lot more RP focused. They also have really smooth, separate clothing menu, separate from your main inventory to work with your clothing. It's super fast, super easy to use, a really cool system in general. They also have poker and slot machine games that have custom UI made for them. Really cool stuff, really fun games, really cool how they customly made it. I'm not sure if it's a download or something, but either way, some really cool stuff there. Next is you're able to also build on the outside of your properties, allowing for custom garages, hangout areas, and whatever you want to build on your property with the furniture provided to you. We also have a drug crafting system that is pretty unique, pretty cool. Don't see it on too many other servers, but it's gonna be about it for Eclipse's main unique features. I might be missing a couple, but that's all I could think of at the moment. Next, we're gonna be going into Mafia City's main unique features, so let's talk a little bit about that as well. So first thing on Mafia is that, again, it's a bit more heavy RP focused, so players can create almost any business and easily get approved for a business license, all in character, which is really nice. Again, with all of the previous mentioned government jobs, you're able to go to them and get business license approved that ways and through the forums. They also do community Q&A nights weekly, which is really nice. They do them on the Discord. They have like the server owner in there, they have a bunch of staff, and they take questions from the community and answer them on the spot. Really nice communication within the community. Next is they have a pretty unique garage system, where if you buy a house and it has a garage door or something, you can have a garage installed that teleports you to a different interior. Really cool stuff, especially if your main house actually has a garage in it. You can have that be the place where it teleports them. Next, they have custom factories for creating weapons, cocaine, or high quality weed that can be owned by any player or a group of players. Again, you don't need admin approval or anything. You just go find them. They're hidden. You buy them, and then you're able to create either weapons, cocaine, or high quality weed from them and sell that for a decent amount of money, or create the weapons to use for your own. They also have a really unique MMO similar profession system that increases the pay you have the higher your level of skill and the more experience you get from doing that job. And they also have different branches of the job, like for the fishing job. Once you get to a certain level, well, actually they changed it very recently, but once you get to a certain level, you are able to go out on a boat and fish, and depending on what level you are, you can catch different kinds of fish. I think it goes like level 100 gets certain kinds, level 200 and level 300 will get certain kinds, but again, this may be changed as this video is released, because they are working on a lot, and I know that they're working on these new branches for different jobs as well. They also have a really intuitive F2 menu, as well as a wheel for commands instead of typing commands. There's really no typed commands for the most part. Most of them are done through this F2 menu, which I'll show on screen now, of course, or this B menu wheel as well. They have a web-based MDC, which is kind of I forget exactly what it stands for, but you're able to look up different players, their crimes, previous crimes, jail time served, sentences, fees, stuff like that, all through web-based or in-game, either way. So it's really nice, really unique, really nice to use for law enforcement officers in-game. There's also a super easy to use furniture system that completely revamps how furniture is used. Really nice system, really super intuitive and really easy to use. They also have a custom turf system. This actually was originally on Eclipse a long time ago, but it got removed. But it is on Mafia now. So you're able to take your gang and take over turfs, which bring you in money, and also show that, hey, this gang owns this turf, this land, this area. There's also a really easy to use corporation system in menus, but that's going to be about it for Mafia City's main unique features, and let's move on to the player base of each server. So starting off with Eclipse, the average players during their peak hours are around 400 to 500 players. There's no age requirement, and with these 400 to 500 players during the average peak hours, which is a ton of players, comes with a lot of advantages and disadvantages. Let's talk about those a little bit. The main advantages of having this many players is that the city does feel more alive. It does feel like a real city. You're always meeting new people you've never seen before. Gangs that are large take over certain areas of the map, certain places, and really make it feel like that's their hideout, that's their area, because there's enough people in their gangs to be able to be always online, stuff like that. There's also official gangs on Eclipse that are admin approved for showing good RP and forum posts that can import certain items that regular players cannot. This is an advantage and a disadvantage, I believe. It's cool that a certain group is only allowed to import these weapons and these items, but at the same time it does give a disadvantage to players that are not part of their groups. Also, there are gangs that control the city for longer periods of time. I believe the Zetas and Triads have been pretty much in control for over a year, maybe even 2 at this point. But it does really make it feel like they're these infamous gangs and that everyone knows of them. Some big disadvantages coming with this higher player base is that smaller gangs are really not able to excel much most of the time, because of much larger gangs having the advantage of being the only ones able to import heavy weapons and set prices as they seem fit. Smaller gangs and criminal players have to buy components for personal drug labs or heavy weapons from official gangs, as they're the only ones who can import them. And because of the very large player base, it can sometimes take a long time for an admin to respond. This is also just a little bit of a nitpick. It can take a long time for an admin to respond to a report, depending on admins online and players online as well. Now, the main hot zones for Eclipse is really the bank. There's always something going on in the bank. It makes it really interesting, makes the server really feel alive. Bank's always filled up with cars. There's always a bunch of people there, cops there pretty much every other 10 minutes for something weird going on. So it does really feel like a really alive spot and a really cool hot zone. Now, to go into the legal system of Eclipse that much, there really isn't that much. There's no real way to dispute charges without filing an IA report, which is internal affairs report, against the officer that gave them to you, or bringing an admin into the situation. But the police do have the final say in almost any situation. Now to talk about Mafia a little bit, their average players during their peak hours is around 150 to 200, so a little bit less, but still a decent amount, a good amount. Again, server has only been out for, I believe, 6 months at the time of this video. It came out around December of 2019. There's also no age requirement on this server either. Now again, with this amount of players do come some advantages and disadvantages, and some advantages and disadvantages of the player base in general. Large gangs don't really publicly control any areas for the most part. There was one gang a while ago that did, but for the most part, gangs kind of stick underground, which again is an advantage and a disadvantage for both. You're not really able to see them so much in town, but they are secretive, and they kind of gives them that cool aspect. All gangs and players have the same advantages and disadvantages and are able to do all features without admin approval. Since the server is still new and has its players though, there's a lot more opportunities for players to create businesses at this point and submit business licenses and have them approved. You don't need admin approval for anything really. Pretty much everything goes through the whole legal system they have over on Mafia, which is really cool. They have like business analysts, attorneys, again, as I said before, that can really process all of that for you. You have to go on the forums for some stuff, but most of it can just be handled ICly. Again, all gangs are equal and do not need admin approval to perform any actions or get access to features or have to really submit stuff to become an official faction or something like that. That's not really on Eclipse. Something really cool on Mafia is that there is also a smaller player base, so you kind of get to know everyone. A lot of people may like this, a lot of people may not. Again, Eclipse feels more like a rampant city of people everywhere, and Mafia kind of feels like a more close-knitted community of people. Pretty much everyone knows all of the main players in town. Most people know each other, stuff like that. Again, disadvantages and an advantage to that. And because of the smaller player base, again, this is just a small thing, but admins are for the most part able to handle in-game reports a lot faster because of the less total reports. Stuff does take some time sometimes, but again, there's a lot less players, so there's a lot less players submitting reports. Now, the main disadvantages of the server is because of this lower player base, in certain parts of the city, it can feel very lonely and very like a dead city. Most of the player base is focused, and most of the features are focused in the city as well, so there's not a ton of reasons to leave the city and go to Sandy or Polito. There's also no sheriff's department as of this video. There are rumors about one coming soon, but as of this video, there is no sheriff's department. So really, unless you're going to do illegal stuff, there's no point in going north, and the whole north part of the map does feel very deserted at the moment. Another thing that I forgot to add in the advantages is that on Mafia City, I'm not sure exactly why, but there are a lot more player-run events. It's really easy to get approval for them. Again, you can do most of the stuff IC without having to talk to admins or anything. You can run really cool events. Most of PD and MD and stuff like to support these events as well, so that really helps out. And there's events to go on literally pretty much almost daily now at this point. There's been a lot of stuff going on, but for the most part, events go on really consistently on Mafia City, and there are a lot of them to go to. So the major hot zones on Mafia are the pier for the most part, and then sometimes the bank. The pier, there's a lot of people always there. There's always something going on, either a robbery or some guy just jumping off the pier, someone doing this, someone doing that. There's always something going on at the pier, and it's a really cool place to hang out and go fishing or meet new players. People also go to the bank, but not as often as well. So with their legal system actually on Mafia, I'll talk about a little bit now. When players are under arrest, they can request for a lawyer, and PD is required to get them one. If they cannot within a certain time span, they have to release those players. If a violent crime occurs though, they have to process them right away, obviously, but they're able to get a lawyer later on. The legal system, including business analysts and attorneys, allows for business applications and event license requests to all be handled IC without need for admin intervention. Again, you have to do some stuff on the forums, but for the most part, it's pretty much all handled IC and pretty smooth that way, pretty easy to do, and don't really need to talk to any admins or get any special approval for most events and businesses. So that's going to be pretty much it for the player bases, a brief overview of the player bases for each server, and now we're going to go into the rules of each server, how they affect the player base, and kind of how the rules are oriented to a certain roleplay style. So we're gonna go talk into that a little bit right now. Alright, so starting off, this should be a pretty short section. Starting off with Eclipse's rule set. Rules are definitely more focused on a light roleplay, but with recent rule additions to the robbing in non-RP zones and during daytime, It fixed a lot of the previous problems on the server, and I think has fixed a lot of the server problems in general. There's also a not super realistically focused rule, such as being able to drive sports and supercars off-road. There's no rules against that. There's no rules against any kind of immersion, such as driving through fences to get somewhere faster, or jumping off high places to get somewhere faster. There isn't stun jumping. I'm talking about your character jumping off somewhere pretty high to get somewhere else. Or in general, stuff that breaks immersion is not really too much in the rules at this point of this video. Again, there's just more laid-back rules in general and less strict rules over immersion. Most of the rules are kind of focused on just some big rule breaks and stuff like that. There's not too many rules about immersion or breaking immersion on the server, but it definitely is a more lighthearted server and a server where you can just kind of mess around and have a lot of fun with your friends and such. So next, for Mafia City, it's definitely a lot more heavy RP focused rules. They do have some rules, although that don't make too much sense, like having to do /me's and /do's to loot an unconscious person, which kind of is a big drawback of it. There are also more heavy immersive rules. There's only off-roading with off-road vehicles, no cutting through fences or stuff where it wouldn't make sense, and your actions have to be realistic and make sense to what you would do kind of in real life. The rules are definitely a lot more strict over on Mafia. They have a point system as well, where if you get a certain amount of points, you get a certain amount of ban relating to those points in relation. That's pretty much it. Again, Eclipse is a lot more lighthearted, a lot more messing around fun, kind of more laid-back rules, and Mafia City is kind of more heavy RP and a little bit more strict rules on the server. So next, we're going to be going over the economy, or the major parts of the economy on each server, and how it affects the server as a whole. Alright, so we're going to be talking a little bit about the economy of each server and how it affects it. So first off, Eclipse has quite the inflated economy, just because of the years it's been up and kind of how the jobs are set up and the amount of money. Now again, this doesn't really matter too much, as the inflation kind of also inflates everything else, so it just kind of changes the worth of the worth per dollar. It's a lot less grindy. Pretty easy to make a lot of money if you do it right, or just kind of grind it out for a little bit. Then you're pretty much set for a while. There's an average pay of around 10,000 to 15,000 an hour for scripted jobs, and the prices for cars are similar to Mafia, even though the economy is inflated. Again, the Eclipse economy is alright. It's not horrible, but if you want to make money and you do actually want to grind out a little bit, you can make quite a lot of money and not a lot of time, and kind of be set for quite a while. You don't really have to worry about too much money about an Eclipse, as money is plentiful if you do want to do these scripted jobs and actually grind them out just for a little bit. Then you're set for quite a while. On Mafia City, it's a bit of a different story. It has a little bit more of a realistic economy for the most part, as in it takes a while to get a lot more money and to get certain items or objects. It's a lot more grindy, at least for your first couple of days on the server, until you can find out how to make more and or invest money into either companies or businesses. The profession system that they have is kind of, again, similar to an MMO system, as the more you do a certain job, the more money you'll make from that job. And again, you can earn different branches as you hit certain level caps and such like that. But it does make you focus on one job, and the more time you spend on that one job, the more money you will earn over time. And on Mafia, the average pay is around 2,500 to 3,500 an hour for scripted jobs. That's going to be pretty much it for the economy of both. The Eclipse economy is a little bit more, again, lighthearted as well. It's kind of more of an arcade-based server, is the best way I could describe it. Again, that's kind of my opinion on that one. But again, the Eclipse economy is just a little bit more money, but a little bit more money for everything, so it kind of evens out. And the Mafia City is a lot more grindy, and you kind of have to work a lot more for your money and buy stuff with it that way. But I think that's going to be about it for the economy of each server, just a little brief overview of each one. Now we're going to be going into the final part of this video, the conclusion and the upsides and downsides of each server. So let's go into that right now. Alright, so to get into a conclusion of this video, which hopefully you guys have enjoyed, hopefully it's brought you some insight into both servers. There's definitely upsides and downsides of both. We're going to start off with Eclipse. It's for sure a bit faster in general of a server, with shorter jail times, easier ways to make money, And if you're willing to grind a little bit, you can get a mid or end game car, such as an LG Retro Custom, within just a couple of days. Because of the higher amount of players, the server though does feel alive, but especially with the new update for some reason, because of the amount of players and vehicles in the game, it can get a little hardware intensive and a little laggy in certain areas, such as around the bank and up towards Polito around the new Bayview area. Also because of the very high player base, the server can get pretty crazy during shootouts and events, which again, this can be an upside or a downside depending on what you like more. Which can lead to some really cool stuff, but at the same time, it can create a lot of frustration when you're trying to quiet down or control very large groups of players during a big event because of the huge player base. A lot of people come to them, which in turn makes it a lot harder to handle these players. Again, with the higher player base, you also do get a lot of really cool scenarios, but you also get a lot of people who don't really know too much about RPing and are not exactly the best at it or don't really care for it too much. But again, with the big player base, it does make the city feel a lot more alive, makes the city feel more like a real city. You're meeting new people all the time, you're not really knowing everyone, you're not really knowing all the players, new gangs pop up all the time, new businesses pop up all the time, and some really cool RP can be had with these large amount of players on the server. So next, we're going to be talking about Mafia. So Mafia is definitely a bit of a slower and more RP heavy server. There's very high jail times with a max sentence being 15 hours, I believe, and certain crimes have pretty high fines as well, and again, big high jail times to go with them. It's definitely a lot more grindy and will most likely take a week or possibly more to get a decent mid or end game car, depending on how much you're grinding, what job, as well as your professions level. So it's definitely a lot more of a grindy server, but it does make the objects and vehicles you get feel a lot more worth it and a lot more fulfilling in the end. But some people really don't like the grind, some people love it. It's definitely a lot more of your opinion on how it works. Now another big thing on Mafia that I really enjoy is that there's lots of events held by players going on pretty much every single week to make the community feel more alive. But again, because of the server that's only been out for 6 months, the average player base is still not super high, with the average high player base in the best times being around 150 to 200 plus. So at times the server can feel a little empty, especially if you go to the north of the map. But in general, with these events, does help to make it feel a little bit more alive. But with the low player count, a lot of parts of the city and a lot of the time you don't really see a bunch of people, unfortunately. But I think that's going to be about it for this conclusion and for this video as a whole. Hopefully it's gave you some insight into both servers and will answer the question that has been asked a lot of the Mafia City versus Eclipse. Again, I tried to get my opinions out at the beginning of this video and have the rest of it strictly fact-based and based off of the server's features, rules, and communities. Hopefully the best unbiased way I can. So hopefully this video helped you out a little bit in figuring what server you want to go to or what server you may enjoy better. But I think that's gonna be about it. If you did enjoy this video and it helped you out, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this and more videos in general, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.